So let's talk about the latest motions hearing for Stearns' trial. First of all, there was the request to have all newspapers removed from the courthouse. Turns out that some genius had been putting the newspapers right inside the front door so that anyone walking in could see the headlines. And apparently Stefan made the headlines that day so that anyone walking straight in the courthouse could see his mug. That would be enough to scare most people out of the courtroom. It is, of course, a fair request, not just because we don't want jurors to be biased by seeing these articles on newspapers prior to trial or during trial, but let's be real, the jurors have to look at his mug all day, every day. To have to see it when they first walk in the door of the courtroom, that's a bit harsh. And as for during jury selection, well, you probably scare off half the jurors if they walk in the door and see an image of Stearns staring back at them. Stearns also doesn't want to have to wear restraints in the courtroom because he thinks he's a bit special. He's the first person in the history of the courtroom to claim that they are uncomfortable and distracting. The judge pointed out that he won't be moving around and the stun cuff will be on the opposite leg to where the jury will be sitting, so they're not going to see it anyway. And while his defence claimed that, well, when you sit down, your trousers right up a bit, so it may show. But if his trousers aren't loose enough, it may show. Judge Carson's response was a somewhat more diplomatic version of, suck it up, princess. The defence also wanted to make sure that the judge knew how to do his job in terms of what the media should be allowed and shouldn't be allowed to do. They wanted to make sure that even though ticketed media are expected to read and be familiar with the rule of judicial administration and the administrative order, that they would understand that they're not allowed to show computer screens or notes or anything of the sort on their camera footage. The judge somewhat subtly managed to point out that he actually knows how to do his job, he understands what the rules are, and actually pointed out some of the rules to the defence and acknowledged that it will be very important to ensure that no members of public are allowed to have their own devices out in the courtroom. Finally, Stefan didn't want to have to use a jail pen in the courtroom. Now, I will give it to him. Those pens do appear too short to hold comfortably, so you would get a hand cramp after writing 2 words. It was also pointed out that these pens are different and may be therefore prejudicial because the jury will see that he's been given a special pen. So Stearns will be given a special felt-tipped pen to use in the courtroom, kind of like having his own little texter. Finally, we could expect to see a motion from the state which requests that the courtroom be closed during viewing of multimedia evidence, as in photos and videos. Personally, I see this as a good move. We are certainly on the home stretch, and it feels like we are just about to see the beginning of this trial.